Welcome back to This Week. I am pleased to be joined by Karl, candidate for mayor of Nashville. Congratulations on your victory last night.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Very close election, as we kind of predicted it would be, but you have to be pleased with your message. I mean, let's be honest, 6 months ago, you had the lowest name recognition. When the election happens, you win.
Yes, I am very pleased, and I think that largely comes from conducting a positive campaign with a clear message, where I'm focused on improving public schools and public safety and seeing the link between good public schools, safe streets, and good jobs for our citizens.
Are you going to be drawn into what your opponent started right during his victory speech, basically calling you out, basically saying that you were trying to buy the election, accusing you of being against the voters of Davidson County on a referendum issue?
Well, I'm going to defend myself, and I think I have to do that so that the voters can be focused on the real issues in this campaign. But I'm going to try to, my intention is to conduct a campaign that is worthy of the people of Nashville. And I think that's what we just did in the earlier process when we conducted the general election campaign, where there were 5 or 6 candidates at forums on an almost nightly basis, where we conducted a very positive discussion of the issues. And that's what I want to do, and I think that's what the voters want. The voters want to talk about the things that matter to Nashville. One
of the criticisms that's going to come at you from the campaign is that you represented criminals. Well, as public defender, isn't that your job?
That's my job. I was elected by the people of Nashville 3 times to run the public defender's office, and I thought I ran it very well. It's an important part of the criminal justice system. You have to have criminal defendants have the right to an attorney, and that's part of it, and you can't have trials, you can't have cases disposed of unless you have that office. It's an important office.
And they're accusing you of trying to buy the election. It's your money, you can do with what you want.
Right, and I guess I don't mind them raising the question. I think that's fine. Any sort of campaign finance issue is legitimate, but this election is about more than just the money that we've contributed to the campaign, my wife and myself. It's also about over $500,000 that I have raised in the shortest time period of any of the candidates. It's about over 1,000 contributors. It's about a strong grassroots effort, a lot of volunteers, and it's about the response to our message. I didn't get the endorsement of the Tennessean, the Nashville Scene, the City Paper, the Sierra Club because of our commercials. I got their endorsement because they decided I was the right leader for this city at this pivotal time.
As you well know, in order for either one of you to win, you're going to have to attract voters that did not vote for you during the general election. How do you do that? How do you get your message to those folks that chose other candidates?
Well, I think a lot of these, obviously some of the supporters of the other candidates were clearly attracted by their message and attracted by their skills as leaders. I'm going to need to reach out to them, say I want to hear their concerns, and persuade them that I'm the person who can best represent them. I think I have a lot in common with all of David Briley's supporters, of Howard Gentry's supporters, and Buck Dozier's supporters, and I'll be making an effort to reach them.
You've talked about this community, in your opinion, already being a great community. You're trying to keep the momentum moving forward. How do you do that?
You keep it moving forward, I think, by focusing on the basics. I really believe that every day a mayor has to go into work and focus on the quality of public schools, public safety, and economic development. The great things that are going to happen here in terms of, whether it's museums or sports teams or developing the waterfront are going to happen, and the mayor has a role there. But if you have the basics in order, if you hit those 3 pitches, public safety, public education, economic development, then all the good things are going to happen.
100,000 people roughly voted in the general election. Traditionally, historically, fewer people come out to vote in a runoff election. How do you keep the voters energized, interested, and get them to the polls?
Well, there's 2 things you need to do. One is have a grassroots effort where you get the vote out, which we have. The second thing you need to do is conduct a positive campaign. I really think that negative campaigning, although it gets a lot of interest and gets people talking, and it does have sort of an appeal in the sense that people like to see a fight, turns people off. This is an important time in the city. This is a time when we have some real fundamental issues to face, and we should be discussing them. And we should be discussing them in a civil manner. And I'm going to do what I can do to move that along, and we'll just see how it goes. You
talked about the key issues: economic growth, crime, education. Is there an issue, in your opinion, that stands above the rest that may turn this election? Is there something out there the voters are looking for to hear from you?
Well, I think public education is a #1 issue, but I do think the people of Nashville are looking for a person who can represent them as we move into this new century, somebody who has a vision of the future of the city. And I think looking at issues like regionalism, be it on the environmental level, be it on transportation or economic development level, is going to be key. The next leader of Nashville has to be a regional leader.
What's the biggest challenge? This community, one of the lucky communities in this country, it's growing. People want to come here. What's the biggest challenge the next mayor faces, as you said, to keep that economic growth going?
I do believe fundamentally the biggest challenge is to have a public school system that not only attracts businesses, that the businesses want to come here so they have a good public school system for their employees. It attracts families. I want people not only to work in Nashville, but to live in Nashville. We need to be a city of families. And to do that, you have to have a public education system, and it's an investment in our future.
There were 7 candidates running for mayor in the previous election. You came out #1. Now there are just 2. Do your tactics change? Does your message change?
Well, I think it gets more focused. I mean, obviously, there's only one other candidate to respond to, and we'll be talking about issues, Mr. Clement and myself. But I'm going to continue with my message. I basically have delivered the same message to every group of voters, and I'm going to continue to deliver the same message up until September 11th, because I really do believe that I've identified the fundamental issues that this community faces.
Obviously, there are 2 choices. The electorate chose you as you won this general election. Going into the runoff, September the 11th, what are you telling voters one-on-one to get them to say Karl Dean's the best man for this job?
Well, I explain my background, my experience as being the elected public defender running that office, being the law director where I was intimately involved in the operation of the government. I know how the government works. And then also there's the clarity of my vision in terms of what the city needs to do. And the fact that I think I can represent this city well in any situation, and I have a fundamental great optimism about the future of the city.
Karl Dean, candidate for mayor of Nashville. We appreciate very much your time.
Thank you,
sir.